Parashat Tetzaveh in chapter 28, verse 20. Find it. Here we are. I'm sorry, it's 27, verse 20. 27, verse 20. Baka Tetzaveh B'nei Israel, and you shall command the children of Israel, V'yifku elecha shemen zayah katit l'ma'or la'alot ner tamid, and you shall take. Actually, they shall take. So this is a double.
I'll call you back after.
When it says ata and then it says tetzaveh, is going to focus on the fact that it's a double you. You don't need you twice. Vata, you, tetzaveh. He'll explain. It should have said one or the other.
Tetzaveh. In other words, you could have left out the pronoun.
He'll explain that. And then yiku alecha ship. I'm sorry. And then they shall take for you. That's also awkward. They shall take for you this clear olive oil that's katit, that's crushed, l'ma'or, for illumination, la'alot ner tamid, to bring up the ner tamid. And the word ner tamid here, we're talking about one ner, constantly or continuously, whereas in Parshas Emor, it uses the word neros. So we have to discuss that. We'll also discuss the next verse, which I might as well just read as well. Ba'ohel moed michutz leparochet. Where is this menorah to be placed? In the Ohel Moed, but outside of the curtain, the paroches, asher al ha'edus, which is upon or near the testimony. Yaroch oto, who's going to Aaron? Aaron is he's commanding Aaron to arrange it. Luvinav and his sons. Me'erev ad boker b'fnei Hashem, hukat olam l'dorotam me'bnei Israel. So it says from evening, he's going to arrange it with his sons from evening until morning in front of Hashem, but it's an eternal decree. Hukat olam, for all their generations from the children of Israel. So he starts off by saying, Yesh l'dakti. You should really carefully examine this. Mahu v'ata. And then the word tetzaveh. Why do you have, in other words, it's ata is you pronoun, and then tetzaveh is the verb command, but it's you shall command. Shtei nochiot, two, what's the word?
Second person.
Okay, twice it's mentioned second person.
Yeah, what nosach. Nosach means in this right? So first person is I, second person is you. Right. And third person is he.
Right. So he's saying it's twice the same pronoun. You don't need to emphasize that. It should have only been written once. V'yatat miboy leila meimar. Could have just said, it needed just to say you command, as opposed to you command. Gam milat v'yata, even the word you is totally superfluous. Kula miyuteres, not necessary at all. Ki hayalomar, because on the other hand he could have just said tzav es b'nei Yisrael, command, and it's understood because we know he's. No, it says you shall command the children of Israel.
Okay, so that's the time of b'nei Yisrael is what you would take. He said,
no, what he's saying is no. He's saying the fact that it didn't say that, okay, it still could have just said Tzav as b'nei Yisrael.
It doesn't do that anywhere, though, really.
But it doesn't say here what you're saying it should say.
In the beginning of a subject.
So the word vata is replacing. You're suggesting the word ata replaces, and we now understand that Hashem said to Moses, saying, there's five. He could have just cut that out anywhere.
He's going to come up with a different reason why it says
correct.
Vata.
You're right. Ki b'lashon zeh nemar Parshas Emor. This language that we just spoke about, Tzav es b'nei Yisrael, is mentioned over in Parshas Emor. Al haneros halalu. When we discuss the same menorah, but there are How many candles? 7. Umashkatava Ramban, and regarding what the Ramban had written, Lomar, saying, Shehikpid shelo ya'aseh al yidei shliach v'chulei. That this somehow is coming to tell us that Moses should be very careful and concerned to do it himself, or when he's commanded to Aaron, that they should do it themselves, and it should not be done through a shliach. We're talking about the actual command. The command should come from Moses and not through someone else to tell Aaron. We're talking about the command. Must be the command. The command has to come from Moses himself. Mekom he gufa kasha. Nevertheless, it still remains a question. Lama hikpid b'mitzvah zu yoter mikol hamitzvot. You don't have this peda that it should be only Moses that tells them, or it's only them that do it without a shliach, right? You don't see that by any other mitzvahs, this extra concern. L'chein b'samuch, in chapter 28, verse 3, which is a few verses later, it says very much the same language, v'ata tedaber. Again, a double pronoun, a double you, so to speak, and you shall speak, you shall say over to them. Gam sham hadavar tzarech yishuv. So too over there, it requires a resolution. We have to figure out what it means. V'od hikshu hamaforshim. The commentators asked also, Ma inyan mitzvah zulakan. Why is this mitzvah right here? The rest of the parsha is dealing with the clothes of the kohanim, of the priests. Ki ikar makoma acher asiyat mishkan. Acher asiyat mishkan. The prime place, the main place it should have been, was after completing, after creating or producing the tabernacle, the hanacha menorah, and then the placing of the menorah and all the details regarding its lighting.
You had to have a place to put it in. That's the machlokes in Mitzvah and Moshe.
Maharia Arnel Parish and the Abarbanel explains Ki Yakar Mitzvah Zu Parashat Emor. There's no question the prime place for this mitzvah of lighting the menorah, where it's placed, is over there in Parashat Emor. V'chan Emor, but here it does say Tetzaveh, meaning to say, what does God want to get across? He wants to get across Ato Asi L'Tzavot Es B'nei Yisrael, that a few parshas later, in the future, you will command the children of Israel, U'v'lidivurav, and according to his words, meaning the Abarbanel, Kol Pasuk Zem Yutar. Then the whole pasuk, the whole verse, is superfluous and extra and not necessary. Because what's the point of telling him now that in the end he's going to command them later? And what does the Abarbanel? I think when he means Harav, he's talking about the Abarbanel. What is the Abarbanel? What's he going to do with this verse that comes 3 verses later? The Atat Tidaber. In other words, you answered up by saying Atat Tetzaveh over here is referring to a command that will happen in the future. Well, what about here, when it talks right now about the holiness of the Kohanim and the sanctity of their garments? It's happening right now. It's not something that he's going to command later on. Hanemar b'samuch, that's mentioned right away. V'od kasher, and furthermore, he asks, Lalot ner tamid. It says, right, you should raise up this ner constantly. Ner roish mi boile. It's not one ner, it's not one candle. It's 7, it's a bunch. Sharei shivayu. There were 7. So why is the language ner singular? Furthermore, kasha, another kasha. Halola dalku ki imei erev ad boker. So the word tamid implies continuously, but we know weren't they lit only from night until morning? So lama amar tamid. Why is this word used here to say that at least one there has to be lit always, continuously?
There's another definition of tamid, Like, let's say if you have korban tummy, okay? It doesn't mean you bring the korban tummy all day long.
Consistently. It means consistently.
So that's how he's going to answer.
I don't think so. A further question that the Portion spoke about. It says, "V'ohel moed," inside the tabernacle, inside the tent of meeting, michutz leparochet, but it's outside of. We're talking about where the placement of the menorah is. It's in the tabernacle, in the ohel, but it's outside of the curtain which separates the Holy of Holies. Asher al ha'edut. So this parochet, which is by or near the
Oral.
well, that's the Aron Kodesh for sure. So we talk about upon the testimony. Komari mokom haroch zehu nira lelo tzarich. So this whole source of the arrangement appears not necessary at all. Why? Ki hayalomer, because it could have said, the verse could have said, Al ha-menorah yarachoto. Why do we need to know where it's placed? We know that the arrangement is done on the menorah itself. So we already know the place where the menorah is located. It says in chapter 26, 34 and 35. It says specifically, place menorah opposite the shulchan that is near the parochet. So we already know where it is. So what is all this being told again now? We also don't mention, it's only mentioned one candle in our verse. Parashat Emor, it says, Yaroch es haneros. Aaron is supposed to arrange the candles. So we see plural. Furthermore, our verse said, Ohel Moed michutz leparochet. So in the Ohel Moed, outside of the curtain. Whereas in Parashat Emor, it switched the order, and it says first, michutz leparochet, outside of the curtain, and afterwards it says Ohel Moed, inside of the tabernacle, inside the tent of meeting. The Kanemar, again, we mentioned that it says over here, michutz leparochet, but he wants to add another point here. Michutz leparochet, outside of the parochet, asher al ha'edut, which is near the testimony, but over there it says michutz leparochet ha'edut. The parochet itself is called the testimony, right? Outside of the parochet ha'edut, the curtain of the testimony. So
almost, they're both saying the same thing, Parsha here and Parsha Emor.
So why switch?
It's almost like two different people are writing the same thing.
And now you know why these Bible critics were so, I can't even say it because the tape recorder's on. I'm going to have to edit this out. They claim that there are 5 different authors. And they take these things, but they're all intermingled. It's not like there's any seder to that. Anyway, that would certainly, I wonder what they do with the codes. They just dismiss the codes altogether. Okay, so we're going to continue on. It seems like we can resolve all of the questions that we asked according to what the Ramban had written. Remember, we said the verse says to bring up the candle. Again, it's a continuous candle or continuously. We're talking about the most western candle that was always lit. But regarding the other 6 candles, remember we just said it was just from Erev until Boker. It was only lit from the evening until the morning. Now with this proposal, with this understanding, it will answer up all of the questions that we had mentioned. After Moses had been commanded by God regarding the tabernacle and all of its vessels, there was a division within the structure of the Mishkan to three, we'll call portions, three distinctions. There was the most inner, we'll call the Holy of Holies. They had the other part where the Kalim were, and then you had the outside where the outer altar was, or the Chatzer. Right? Is that what we're talking about? The Al Kulam Omar, as it says regarding all of them in chapter 25, verse 8, Asuli Mikdash Vishchanti B'tocham. And they shall make me a sanctuary that includes everything, so I may dwell among them. V'haya haparochet mavdil bein kodesh l'kodesh hakadoshim. And this veil, this curtain, we call it the parochet, separated between the Holy of Holies and the Holy. V'rotza Moshe shebechol chelik yedavar hamoyreh al shahashchina shruya b'Yisrael. Moses desired, he wanted that each portion, each one of the divisions should have something that would reflect or teach the fact that the holy presence dwelt there amongst Israel. Inside of the Holy of Holies, you had the ark, and within the ark sat the tablets, the Ten Commandments, the two tablets. Asher yitnu edus Hashem ne'emona shashchina sharui sham. That Hashem placed this testimony. It was a testimony that Hashem is faithful, that the Shekhinah would reside there. Because through the luchos themselves, the tablets had, when they were written, in the script they were written in, there was a way that if I was on one side, you were on the other, you would see it written correctly, and I would see it written correctly, which was, I guess, the first nace. But above that, you had certain letters, like say, take the letter O, for example, or the Samach, or the Mem. We have that total cutout, but the piece in the middle hung or levitated.
It don't hold state.
Well, yeah, with the space in between, it was just levitating. Shenikraim Mishnei Evrehem, that they were readable from both sides, as Rashi mentions. And the Mem and the Samach, those are two letters, Shabaluchos B'neis HaYibonim. In the tablets, they were hanging by a miracle. V'tinach shebechol bo l'malkom hahu yirei ayin ba'ayin ki shem Hashem nikra olah. And there's no doubt that anybody who went into this place, the Holy of Holies, they would see with their own eyes that the name of Hashem is called upon it. It's an open miracle. And ha'amnam, therefore, achar shahaparoches mafsik, now that you have this curtain that separates the Enko Adam Rishai Lavo Shama, and not every person can actually enter there. We're talking about only the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, one day a year on Yom Kippur. Then Chalili Yomer HaMaher, then God forbid someone who's thinking wrongly might come and say, Harotze the Shaker, Yarchi Chedav, that this whole thing is a lie, that there is no testimony. Al Kain Hutrach HaKadosh Baruch Hu La'asot Gam Beheichal Nes Tamidi Ze Bener Ma'aravi. Therefore, Hashem thought it necessary to make also there in the Heichal, which is the outer room, it's still we call it the inner room, but not the most inner room, also a constant miracle. And that would be through that most western light that always stayed lit. Kedei shekulam yistachubo, so that everybody could see it. I guess you could see it from the outside, because it was an opening. V'yu miner me'erev me'arav shem Hashem. This is in Isaiah. I can read the verse. It mentions that from the west people will fear the name of Hashem, and from the rising sun His glory. So there's this concept of fearing Hashem because of the Ner Tamid. From the Ner that's most westernly, they'll come to a recognition of Hashem. That He does dwell there. Whereas if this curtain, the parochis, was not separating or covering the Aron of Testimony, the Ark of Testimony, there would be no reason for this miracle, meaning the most western candle, to remain lit forever. And according to this proposition, the proposal, we can actually say, Shekol Parsha Zu Eina Kavana L'Tzavot Al Meros HaMenorah, that our Parsha here, not and more, but our Parsha here is it's not intended to the command regarding the candles of the menorah. Kima Parshas Emor, only really over in that other Parsha, Parshas Emor, Sham Ikra Makoma Shotzilozu. That is really the prime place for the command. The Khan here, Ikra Tzivui Al Ner HaMaravi Zeh. The main, the prime command is regarding that most westerly candle.
Because it doesn't say Ner in the singular in the next account in Emor.
Right? Legalod Moshe, to reveal to Moshe, Ki af al pi shahaparochet mechase al arona edus, that even though the parochet, this veil, covers the Ark of Testimony, Mekom Mekom Yigam b'makom hakodesh nes matmid. Nevertheless, it shall be also a place, meaning in the inner, we'll call the outer room, it should also be a place where you have a holy miracle constantly. And ki Hashem shochen shama, to publicize that Hashem also, I added that word, also dwells there. Ukavar yadata, you already know. Shemoshe Rabbeinu alav shalom ne'emar bo, regarding Moses, it was said, V'yar Reshid Lo. Now this verse in Deuteronomy 33:21. It's really towards the end, but I'm not exactly sure because it's really an amazing verse. V'yar Reshid Lo. The first part says he chose the first portion for himself, for that is where the lawgiver's plot is hidden. He came at the head of the nation, carrying out Hashem's justice and His ordinances with Israel. So he chose the portion first. The Yar Reshit Lo. You saw it, chose it. Yehu Haya Reshit Hakala L'Kol Devarim Omdi Manes. It sounds like what we're trying to say is that Moses, and we're going to explain it much more in detail, is the source. He was the first and the beginning for all things that stand in a miracle. That somehow the miracle surrounds or stands for. Hu haya kanerze. He was like this most westerly candle. Shemadliki mimenu kameneros v'haner eno chaser. Like he was, when you have a candle and you light another candle, so you still have the original size of the flame. There's nothing lacking from the flame that you originally had to light, 100 candles. It's not like you only have 100th left of the original flame. You have the original size and kamut, quantity, and probably quality as well. So when Moses is going to be the source for, we're going to see all kinds of things, whether it's prophecy, wisdom, as we're going to see. Atzal mimenu shefa ruach hakodesh al kol hanavim shabu acharav. That emanated from him all of the influence of the Holy Spirit upon all future prophets. All the prophets that came after him received from him. It's hard to say what it is.
Ruach HaKodesh?
The ability to have Ruach HaKodesh, the ability to prophesy, came through some quality that Moshe had. The word atzal is emanate. It came from him. It's somehow from him. The power that he had gave the ability for other people to have prophecy. Kipnei Moshe kachama. The face of Moses was like the sun. Right? We know that when he came down from the mount, and he had to cover his face because it was too bright. Kimimenu atzal ha'ur al kulam. Because from him emanated this light upon all of them, upon all the prophets. Kiner marizeh. This is exactly what the westernmost candle did. Sha'uro matmid b'derech nes. That its light was continuous through a nes, through a miracle. Because you know what they put in? They put the same amount of oil in all the candles. Yet and they put it enough for 12 hours. 12 Jewish animals. And it went out in the morning, except this one didn't. So, Atzeolah Meor Shel Moshe, Ki hu haya emtza'i bein ur Hashem l'kol minei ura asher amdu b'neis. So this emanation that was upon Moses shone from his face, was lighted from Moses, because he was as an intermediary between the light of God to all types of light which stand in a miracle. We're talking about this candle was a light that stood in a miracle. So just like his face shone, but also when he was born, the whole house lit up. Hasimon al zeh, and as a proof, let's say a proof to this, Shibeledato nitmale kol habayis ora. It says in Gemara Sota that when he was born, I mean, I'm sure they had candles, but he outshone whatever light they had in the house. When he was born, the whole house lit up with a tremendous light. Lohoros, to teach us, Shuru haya hamekabel harishon min ur ha'elyon, that he was the first to receive from this eternal light. This is Moses we're talking about. Uto hushpa ha'ur akol makom sheyesh bo davar omei b'neis. And it was through his being an intermediary that he shared that influence of this light to any other place where there is standing miracle. Now we understand why it says Yakar Tetzaveh, you command. There's a word used which is totally unnecessary. Just say Tetzaveh or even Tzaveh. So Shtei Nochochiot, two pronouns of you, saying V'ata, you, the first word, ata, hainu memachut atzmutcha, v'tosefet ura shibcha, that from the essence of who you are, and the additional light that's within you, that's you, Tetzaveh es b'nei Yisrael, so then, whoever you are, as we just explained, you're the one that are going to command the children of Israel, that they shall take for you this shemen. The Hashemin Yuchach Alecha, the Shemin we're going to take for you, meaning to say, Litzarf Alecha. Litzaref means to connect, combine with you. You're already this great light. We're going to combine the oil to you. Remember, he's also like the candle. Kadesh Tashpia Olav Mehodcha. In order that Moses they're saying to him, that you should continue to influence with your glory. That's Moses' glory. Kedei la'alot ner tamid. In order to bring up the ner tamid, this western most constant candle, zener ma'aravi. This is the western candle. Shaya tamidi b'derech nes. Its ability to be constant or continuous, 24 hours, was by a miracle. The Akarka Natantam l'Shavach, the Mahayatzarek l'Mezeh, and afterwards, I think he's talking about the Barbanel, but either way, even if it's now we're able to give a reason of praise to why there was this necessity for this miracle of the Western candle. The Fishahu Ba'ohel Moed Michutz L'Parokas Asher Al Ha'edud. It says in the tent, right, in the tent of meeting, outside of this curtain, Asher al Ha'edut, which is upon or near the testimony, the Aron, Ki HaParokas Ma'avil Bein HaMakom Sheyesh Bo Edus Al HaShechina Shrui B'Yisrael. Since this curtain is acting as a separation between the place where you do have the testimony that the Shechina is resting there with the Jewish people, and the rest of this tent, which is not the Holy of Holies, but it's only the Holies, therefore, Yaroch Oto Aaron mi Erev ad Boker. That's why it says that Aaron should arrange it from night until morning. Why? Kikol halayla haya omeid v'oirech. It's a rhetorical question. What did we say? That he stood there the whole night and arranged it the entire night? What are you, Meshugger? His wife to go home to, kids. Rather, he placed in that light the same amount of oil as the other 6. It was exactly the same amount. He didn't put it in anymore. It was exactly what he needed for the 12 hours. Nevertheless, the candle lasted much longer. Always. Till right before sunset, I imagine. And still, it's not explained, it wasn't explained which one of these candles, in our verse, it doesn't say it's the western candle. It still didn't explain which candle has this miracle happening to it. Ad Sha'amar, but the verse does say, L'fnei Hashem, in front of God. Hainu Ner Ma'aravi, now we understand that it's the most westernly candle, Hasamuch L'Shechina Sheb'Marav, that it's closest to the Shechina that rests in the west. Ki Mitzad Ha'edut Doimen Ner Zeh El Aron Ha'edut, because this, from the aspect that the testimony, this is acting as a testimony, is similar to the candle which is by the Aron Ha'edus. The Aron does serve as a testimony, and now this candle is also acting as a testimony. And how do we know? There's a verse, we know it says, Al Pishne Edim Yakum Davar. A single witness, you can't stand up, but according to 2 or 3 witnesses, shall matter be confirmed. Right? You go to court, you're a single witness, there's no point. You're wasting your time and everyone else's time. And it's probably just pure lashon hara. But if you have two witnesses, you can establish something. Something could be, there could be a psak halakha at the end. So they each are having 2 witnesses, the candle and the ark, serving as 2 witnesses. And both of them actually came through Moses. As we know already, the 5 books, right? The Torah is in there, the tablets are in the Aron. So that's through Moses. Kigam HaTorah Nikra al Moshe. But what we're trying to answer up a little bit, when they said they shall take for you, Yichu Alech Hashem, and they're taking from Moses this oil. Why would they be taking from Moses' soul? As we already explained, he's shutaf, he's mitzareh, he's combined, he's involved with that oil. Lo hisker kan kolaneros, and again, we're not mentioning all of the candles, we're only mentioning the one. Ki ein kam mekomam, because this is really not the place to talk about all the other candles. Ki hiva parshas emor, over there, the other parsha. Kamosh nemar sham, as it says over there. Al ha-menorah ha-tahora, upon that purified menorah, yarok ot et haneros. That's where you arrange, plural, the neros. That's why it doesn't say over there either, V'ata Tetzaveh, that double language of you. L'fi she'ikar hatzivoy sham hayal ha-kolaneros, because the prime command was over there regarding all the neros, and it's just Agav Gerara Zachar Sham Ganer Ma'aravizeh. It does mention the westernmost candle over there, but that was just Agav, that was just by the way, because it's mentioned all the candles. Biamru, as it mentions over there, as it mentions here, La'alos Ner Tamid Michutz L'Parochet Ha'edus Ba'oel Moed Ya'aroch Oto. Right, to bring up the Ner Tamid Michutz L'Parochet, sorry, this is over there, outside of the curtain, as Edus Ba'oel Moed, as a testimony in the Oel Moed, Ya'aroch Hotel. Why did I pause there? Because he's going to explain what right now. But nearly, it seems to me, Sheseder Apostle Parshas Emor Kach, that verse we just mentioned is in Parshas Emor, Shetzarch Lahafsik Bein Milat L'Parochet and Milas Ha'edus. You have to read it the way I just read it. Stop after the word Ner Tamid Michutz L'Parochet. The Kach Pirshu, this is what it means, La'alot ner tamid michutz laparochet, to raise up that candle, that continuous candle that is outside of the parochet, meaning, Ratzah Hashem sheyeh ner echad tamidi v'derech neis michutz laparochet. This kind of like proves everything he said, that what did Hashem want? That he wanted one of those candles to be lit continuously in a way of a miracle outside of the Holy of Holies. And afterwards he explains what the use of this miracle is. That's why it says the use of the miracle, the purpose of the miracle is that it serves as a testimony within the Ohel Moed. That this miracle gives over testimony that Hashem is faithful also within the Ohel Moed itself. Remember, we said that because you can't go into the Holy of Holies to see the other aid. Shakol, Misaklin Sham, that everyone can see into that. Yiru Miner Maravi Ze'et Shem Hashem Ki Bekir Bamhu. That they're able to see from that most westerly candle that the name of God is within the Jewish peoples, is dwelling in them. Ki Yarochoto Aaron Me'erev Ad Boker, and that's why it says that Aaron is supposed to arrange them from morning until night. Sorry, thank you. From evening until morning, Lifnei Hashem Tamid, and it should be Lifnei, in front of God always. Alright, we're almost finished. L'fi Shenem Marsham, and according to what it says over there, Sav es B'nei Yisrael Alecha, charge or command the children of Israel, and they shall take for you. This infers there is something here that relates to all of the children of Israel. If you're commanding all the children of Israel, and they should take for you, and also we have something that relates only to Moses alone. That's why it says Alecha, to you. So we have two subjects in this verse. Therefore we're required to explain what both of them are doing there and what aspects each one has. The aspect, the matter that relates just to Moses and not to the rest of Bnei Israel, that's the matter that stands in the miracle. Asher Allah Amar, regarding Moses, it says, Lahalos ner tamid ad hukas olam l'dorotechem. Upon him, maybe it's Asher Allah. We're talking about, yes, Moses, but we were saying Moses was reflective or represented by that most westerly candle. So you raise up ner tamid, as we said, it's one ner, until the verse ends as a eternal law for all the generations. V'yakar perish Adav Yisachol Israel, and then explains what relates to the children of Israel. And what does it say? Al Hamenorah Torah Yaroch et Neros. That's in the Parashat Emor, regarding upon the candelabra, the pure candelabra. Aaron is supposed to arrange the Neros. That's all of the candles in front of Hashem constantly. Because all of those other candles either face or somehow are directed in the direction of the western candle.
This is really in last week's portion, but you didn't talk about how the Ner HaMaravi works. What was the anatomy of it?
We're not going to do that right now. We did that, I think, last time. It's the major machlokas, right? Whether it's the most westerly candle or it's the middle one that faces, that's somehow leaning to the west. But I think it makes more sense it's the most westerly candle, but who am I? Just at least according to this paradigm here. So what is he saying here? That all of them were facing this most westerly candle. That's why it says regarding all of them, Lifnei Hashem Tamid. Remember, it's the most west, and beyond the parochas you have the testimony of Hashem. So he says, Kli Yakar, this is a very fine explanation. We're just going to go on for a few more verses. Davar acher, alternatively, that's why he mentions this source, the verse here, Michutz leparochat asher al ha'edut, right, outside of the curtain, which is upon the testimony. Shelo yotu lomar, you should not make a mistake by saying, Kihu yizvarach tzarich laoro, that God needs the light. Sharei haparofet mafsik bein hamenorah l'makam ashar tashkinato, that you have darkness on the other side, right? There's no need for the light, but this parochet nevertheless does separate between the candelabra and the place that Hashem dwells. Furthermore, shesham ha'edus kulu ora. Plus, and there the test is the testimony, and all of it is lit or light. So you certainly, the prime taking is for you, meaning Moses, the Tsar Ketcha. Okay, I'm not sure if we understand that, but I think we want to explain it a little better. But Yukut Masi, in the Midrash it's brought down, Shalachach hayuchalono shel beis hamikdash rechavos mibachutz, v'tzaros mibifnim. The way that the windows in the temple itself, and we didn't have any windows here in the tabernacle, but it would be the same concept. The way they were wide on the outside and thin on the inside, like the walls around the old city. Loharos, over there it was just for practical reasons to shoot arrows and not get hit. But here, if you were doing architecture and you wanted to bring in natural light, you'd probably do it the other way. You would have the thin on the outside and it gets wider on the inside. So that supposedly brings more light, draws the light in. But over here it wasn't necessary. Why? It wasn't that the sun lit or enlightened, gave off light to the temple. El Adarabah, it was quite the opposite. It was from the Mikdash itself that actually caused any kind of light to exist in the world. As it says in Ezekiel 43:2, I have part of the verse, I have the whole verse actually. And behold, it's really the last 3 or 4 words. And behold, the glory of God of Israel was coming from the east. Its sound was like the sound of multitude of waters, and the earth shone with His glory. The earth shone with His glory. The light emanates from the Mikdash. Came beyond the Lomal of Parshas Vayetze. Talked about that over there in Parshas Vayetze on the verse that Yaakov rested there, maybe the earth pulled him there, but either way he rested in that place and he slept there because the sun had set, and we talked about over there that he realized that it set 2 hours early, and as a result the fact that over there we discussed the idea that it was that Makam and Mikdash, that the light lit the Shemesh as opposed to the Shemesh lighting the earth. And perhaps that's why it mentions Alecha for you, meaning to you Moses, the Ravuta, to explain Ki afilu Pnei Moshe, even the face of Moses, Shehu Kifnei Chama, because his face was like the face of the sun, it shone. Nevertheless, you need this spirituality. Moses needs this light as well. It's not that the sun that enlightens, that illuminates the Mikdash, just like you're the Shemesh, you need the Mikdash, you need the Shekhinah to light, to be the source of light for you. Because from it, meaning the Mikdash, that's the source for all the light of the stars and the bright things in the sky. The Parsha Zu Musar El Tov. And this Parsha is like a rebuke, or it gives you ethical teachings towards those who would make a mistake. And that they spend all their money, their choice money, on despicable and despised physicalities. Lecho Lishtois V'yeter Ta'nugim B'nei Ha'adam, for, let's say, fine foods and fine drinks and all the pleasures of this world that a man can find. V'chol Hamalacha Nimzer V'names, that's the word I was looking for. That's despicable, despised. Oisa Yitain Tzarech L'Tzarech Ner Elokim Nishmas Adam, that he gives for the needs. That what should you rather? You should be giving for the needs of what we call the candle of God, which is the soul of man. That's what you should be feeding. That's what you should be chasing after. Not all the Gashmias, but the Ruchnias. Kederech Sh'asa Kayin, like what Kayin did. Kayin ran after the Gashmias, the physicality. And Hevel, he ran after the spirituality. El Yelech B'derech Hevel. You should follow in the ways of Hevel, Shehevi Minchal Hashem. He took whatever he had in the physical world and brought it as a gift to Hashem. As it says, he brought from the first of his flock and the choicest. Kach Yitain Rishon L'Maor. That's why also the crushing of the olives, we're bringing from the very first. That is used for what we say L'Maor is for the light, but we're talking about spirituality. Let's start Ner Elokim Nishmas Adam, which is the candle of God, which is the soul of man. Asher Ura Nitzchi, which is the eternal light. Kamosh Ne'emar, it says La'alos Ner Tamid, to bring up the Ner. It doesn't say Neros, to bring up the candle continuously. Vasheni Yitain Limnachos. So the second drop of the oil you bring for the offering, because there's a flour offering that is mixed with oil. Shai Michael the Kohanim, that is what we feed Harvey and his family. V'dai Remez Bezeh L'Me'evinim. And this is enough of a hint for those that have some understanding, or can understand. Anyway, Shkoyach, thank you for your patience. Good job,